Hi, welcome to Matters of the Heart and Soul. I'm your host, Janie Charlot. Matters of the Heart and Soul is a podcast to raise awareness and awaken humanity to all that is within. We want to be a beacon of light on your life journey. Hi, welcome to Matters of the Heart and Soul podcast. This is your host, Janie Charlot, and I am co-hosting with Mr. Russell Bruce.
Hello, everyone out there.
All right, so we are actually podcasting live from Daytona Beach. We are sitting out here, actually looking right at the beach, the Atlantic Ocean. It feels amazing out here. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. The breeze off the water feels great. The ocean waves, the sound of it all feels amazing. And today's podcast, we are talking about it's now a time to heal.
Right.
So we want to talk about a time to heal on individual basis and also a collective as part of everyone. So let's dig into that.
Yeah, so with everything that's going on out there in the world, you know, the tragedies that have occurred and all of the restructuring, the changing of laws and the changing of legislation, the changing of the guard, so to speak. It's time to vote. It's time to make changes. And people are starting to have those deep conversations with themselves and with each other. I know personally I've had several friends of different persuasions, especially some of my white co-workers and friends, checking to see if I'm okay, and furthermore to have deeper conversations, trying to make sense out of what's going on and to see what everybody could do to try to make a change. And then you have some who are still quiet, but at the end of the day, we all have to heal. We have to heal individually. We also have to heal collectively. Families are now having deeper conversations. And I think, now that the wounds are open, it's not just a painful time, it's also a great opportunity, perhaps the greatest opportunity in the history of the world for us to get it right, and we have to think about it. The United States of America is probably one of the greatest human experiences or experiments in the history of the world, where you have almost every race and culture represented from around the world in one location. In China, the people there are predominantly Chinese, Japanese, and most other countries are the same, but America is this big melting pot. And who are we to say that God, giving man the gift of prophecy, did not see America, one of the most powerful nations in the history of the world, at the end of this age, and what all that would be taking place here today and now? It is my personal belief and Janie's belief that we're living in the most pivotal time in human history. And it's time not only to concentrate on what the problems are, but if we're gonna get better, which that is our only option left, or else we destroy the planet and ourselves, it's time to heal. And we would like to discuss some of the things that we use in our lives personally, and some of the things that we as a nation and as a human race can do.
Yep. So, going back, because I've mentioned this several times on different podcasts, but we are spiritual beings having a physical experience here on this earth. And so healing has to start on a spiritual level, because if you only try to heal the physical, which is the outside, you really just kind of running in circles. So we had talked a little bit about spiritual oppression, because if we're talking about oppression of Black lives and the Black community, we have to talk about the spiritual oppression. At some point, we have to get to the point and to the realization that religion was really just a form of
expression. A deification of a culture, so to speak.
Deification of a culture. And so whether you are Catholic or Baptist or Muslim or Jewish or anything, at the center of this all, you are a spiritual being having a physical existence. And so if we focus on the fact that you're spiritual, you're one with the Creator. And what I mean by one is that the Creator is not any entity or being or man or anything like that outside of yourself. It is within you, and you are a part of it. And so when you get to the point of healing, you have to do spiritual healing, because otherwise you're just going in circles. So that's just one big thing to kind of keep in mind as we talk about healing. So what are some things that you would recommend, Russell, for healing on a spiritual level, and then moving outside? Because we heal from the inside out. So let's talk about that.
Right. And looking at what's going on in the world and the opportunity that's at hand, it's painful. It's almost like surgery, and it's like when you know that you're about to have surgery, you know that there's going to be some pain involved. And that pain is the uncomfortable conversations, it's the fallout and the backlash of the conversations, the disagreements. But at some point, I think the collective will come together to some type of understanding. People will not always get along, and they will not always agree, but we have to learn how to agree to disagree and to coexist together. And back to what you were saying, that we are all one, because energy is what connects us all. God is that energetic power or spirit that called everything into existence, that puts the stars in the sky and puts the planets in motion, and the suns within the solar systems, etc. And that energy connects everything, animate and inanimate objects, and human beings. That's what connects us all together. Our spirit or our soul is an energetic light body that connects not only with other human beings, but with the source and with the plants and with the water and with everything, like even rocks. So it's like the healing has to come from the inside out. What we see on the outside is just a manifestation of what exists on a mental, spiritual plane.
Yep.
So when it comes to things such as civil rights legislation and so forth being passed, that's fine and dandy on a piece of paper that, people can now integrate and eat at the same lunch counter and drink out of the same water fountain. But the hearts and minds of the people is what needs to be adjusted. And that's where the work needs to occur now. We all need to individually do some deep soul searching and find out what it is that we can do to contribute to make a change.
Yeah. And so what that looks like is really going within and figuring out those wounds that's been lingering there. And sometimes you don't know they're there until they're triggered. And so what that looks like is, somebody could tell you something and then all of a sudden you're upset and or you take it to a whole nother level and you don't even know where it comes from. And until you kind of sit with yourself and figure out where that wound is and then bring it up to the surface. So kind of like we said, I had kind of made a post back on April 4th, which was April 4th, 2020, about the Great Awakening. And what that is that a lot of things come to the surface and is exposed. Just like we're having this race issue and this, this race war, whatever we have going on, things are coming to the surface. And it can't come to the surface. It can't be healed if it doesn't come to the surface. Sometimes it's ugly, and sometimes it takes a minute. It takes a while to heal. But first of all, it's going within. Some things I think we might have mentioned is also just like the sun is healing.
Very much so.
The sun is so healing. The sun is not like a ball of fire. It actually has levels of consciousness that your sun, which is your heart, that you actually radiate with. And it's kind of like if you want to be used as a vessel, you got to get all that stuff out. You got to clean up the hoses and all that stuff. So
that's the chakras and your energy centers within in your body. So it's like, that's why I always say, if the sun's not shining where you're at, hopefully it's shining within, because we all have that central sun system that's inside of us, which is that solar energy that leaves the body when people make their transition. And that's why the body goes from hot to cold.
Yeah.
Because that energy force leaves the body.
And the sun is good for the Black community. I know that, I don't know where it was told, but some things we really need to start figuring out why we were told certain things, because our ancestors worked, sun up to sundown in Egypt in that particular sun, and that was a part of it. They actually worshiped the sun. They had sun gods. So the sun is good. It has vitamin D. It's good for your skin. It helps eczema and some skin cancers and skin wounds and skin infections, fungal infections of the skin. So get you some sun. It helps. It helps open up the third eye. It helps kind of just, you become one with the greater creator, with the sun. Some people do sun gazing because that also helps them connect with the higher consciousness as well. What's something else as far as healing?
Well, I think just finding that quiet space, or that space where you can clear your mind. Like, for example, being close to the water actually records and saves memory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to walk along the beach or sit along the beach, just listening to the waves. And I'm not going to say it's hypnotic, but to a certain extent it kind of puts
the water can be very spiritual cleansing. Yeah. They always say if you're having some issues to kind of go in the ocean and just kind of cleanse in there, get a nice spiritual cleansing. So that's very important.
Kind of a baptism, so to speak. And the thing is, it's good. Like right now during COVID, a lot of people, are like social distancing. On the beach is easy to socially distance because people are sitting far away from it. It's definitely more than 6 feet if that's an issue for some people. And even when you're walking, unless you're with loved ones, you're usually more than 6 feet away. The sun, you're getting your vitamin D. Also, the heat would kill any virus that exists, especially when it's 88 to 95 degrees all the time. And then as well as the sea salt that's coming from the ocean is a cleansing for viruses. So that's one of the reasons why we felt comfortable being here at the beach, for those reasons, as well as it was a good place to go unwind and really didn't have to be around a lot of people, but to kind of just reset and
decompress.
And decompress from what's going on in the world, because it was there when we left, it's going to be there when we get back. And every time we log on to social media, it's still something that we all have to deal with to some level. Until things actually change. So
I think it's also important to keep in mind that there's a lot of people that are also going through a healing process on the individual level. So hold some space, hold some compassion, hold some love and light for them while they're going through it. If you're an empath, it could be very, very heavy for you because, some people will come to you with a lot of their pain, and, to you it may feel like they're dumping on you. But just keep in mind that this is a changing of times, and it has to be exposed, it has to be healed in order to move forward. Otherwise, your soul is stuck and you can't move forward. Just have compassion for other people. We're all spirits, and we're all really trying to hold each other's hand and to help each other get back to the oneness. So just have some compassion, patience. You should start to be aware of someone else's level of consciousness. They may not be aware of their own pain. They may not be aware of the projection. They're projecting their pain on you. They're projecting their hurts and their fears and their insecurities on you. So sometimes it's just having compassion, listening, and just holding that space for them so that they can get through to the next level as well. We're all going to get on the other side. I truly believe we will.
Yeah, and to add to what you're saying, sometimes if people aren't asking for your advice and all they're really wanting to do is be heard, just listen.
Exactly.
Don't offer advice to someone who's not asking for your advice.
Yeah.
Because I think in some cases that actually makes things worse. I think the opportunity will come when they probably will ask for your advice, but if they're not asking for it and all they're doing is venting and they're just wanting to be heard, just let them do that.
Yeah.
And once again, we're all in this thing together. We're not separated from each other. I think that's where the big divide has occurred before. Not only did we think that we were separated from each other, we felt that we were separated from the Creator. And that's been the biggest lie.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a reform not only amongst races and politics, but religion definitely is going to have to be reformed, because a lot of the beliefs are sealed through religion, and that's a topic for another day that I definitely would love to talk about.
And just to kind of, I just always say, okay, how come people can go to the same church for 30 years and they've never spiritually advanced? And I always say, what is it that they're not getting? What is it that, their soul is not getting? Why are they not spiritually advanced? And the soul chooses. The soul has a path. It has a mission when it chooses to, reincarnate on this physical realm. And we all decide when we're coming in and when we're going to leave. But you will repeat the same tests. You'll repeat sometimes the same cycles and patterns if you don't pay attention. Because really your soul comes here to learn certain lessons. That's what it's all about.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I finished saying what I was saying earlier about, the opportunity where we're at. This is almost like a situation as a nation and as a world where, we know that we have to have surgery in order to get better and heal. And we kept putting the surgery off, and now that surgery is occurring, and we're going to get stitched up here, and we're going to put some salve on the wounds.
And healing is not overnight.
It
takes a while. And everybody has a different healing process. Everybody is different. Their route to healing is a little bit different.
Yeah, and it's not a us versus them thing. It's not my political party against your political party, or my religion versus your religion, my color versus your color, my nation versus your nation. And as you could see, there are some people across the water in France and in Japan and different countries that are identifying that are of a totally different hue and culture that are totally identifying, because that spirit is throughout the world. Everybody's saying they're waiting for the second coming, that second coming of Christ. But what if it was just the second coming of a consciousness that would be in the earth, that would be within each and every human being, that was willing to open up their heart to do the work of those prophets that they said that they followed? And if you did, you feel the energy, you know what time it is, why don't we all just get to work and do what we were supposed to do? Because if we don't unite together now, we'll perish as fools.
That's right. Well, this has been another amazing podcast of Matters of the Heart and Soul, and we are here on Daytona Beach. And when I tell you guys, it feels amazing just sitting out here, being in the spirit, looking at the ocean, listening to the waves. I feel very connected. I feel very at peace. There's just an amazing solitude that I feel right now. So we wish a lot of love and light for all of humanity, and I pray that everyone gets to the oneness of their heart, because that's what it is. It's really about keeping your heart open no matter what happens. So again, we appreciate it. We are full of gratitude, and we appreciate the listeners, and we appreciate if you guys would share our podcast as well. So we'll talk to you later.
Peace.